Hello again, it's Steve Snapp, and in this segment, I want to talk about using dashboards to drive behavior. So in previous episodes or segments, we've talked about the idea of capturing some of the key decisions that you've made. And I mentioned in, I think it was video number 5, where we talk about the project document, the idea of capturing the results and the behavior and the metrics that you're trying to drive. I want to touch on this for just a moment, and then I'm going to talk about how to start thinking about dashboards to drive that particular behavior. So again, we used an example, I think, in a previous video about you might want a result of increasing new business revenue. The behavior might be that you want your sales team to focus on prospect generation, and the metric might be 10 new prospects a month or per quarter or whatever the time frame is. So if that's the result behavior metric, I want to talk a little bit about how you use dashboards to sort of reinforce that. Now, in the example that I'm going to show here in the dashboard, we're talking about what I call neglected accounts. And so the idea here is that we've established that there are certain leads that we want to have attention in a certain period of time. And so the first technique that I want to describe to you is creating a set of dashboards that not only reinforce the behavior that we want, but also lay the foundation for the management team and the rep team to work together. So in the previous example, or a moment ago, I talked about the results behavior metric. You've defined what it is you want. Now I want you to start thinking about how you actually create a way to reinforce that behavior with your management team. So a lot of times I use this phrase, what's inspected is respected. And the idea is that if the reps know that every week or every other week or whatever the frequency is, that they know that they're going to be asked questions about things that are, let's just use the word neglected. Well, then after 2 or 3 of those questions, they're going to know that that's an important element and that that's what's going to be required of them. Now, what's neat is in the Salesforce environment, you can create dashboards that allow them to see that. So the idea here is that if I want them to use a dashboard to manage their business, then I want to use my managers to reinforce that, hey guys, we're looking at this. So what's inspected is respected. And so I just wanted to show you the relationship between what I call a rep dashboard and a manager dashboard. We can call it whatever we want. You might call it a team dashboard or a user dashboard or whatever. But the point is, for each individual user, I want to give them a dashboard that allows them to manage sort of their world. And then when they're in a review setting, whether it's a team meeting or whatever, the manager has access to that same information, but it's at a larger view. So let's kind of talk through some of those examples. So in this example, we've talked about this idea of neglected or needing attention. And so in this particular example, I'm Rep Steve Snapp, and I'm seeing my dashboard, and I see that I have $1 million worth of potential deals that need attention. That means that I haven't recorded an activity against them. And I've got $210,000 of things that have recently updated. Now, this particular dashboard was just kind of created for an example. We could show this if we wanted to, just a couple quick notes on dashboards. Instead of showing dollar amount, I could show number of deals. And then looking to see if I had that set up in the example. So maybe this is 5 deals and it's not, 200 grand worth of revenue. Over on this example, I can see that it's, $1 million worth of revenue. Again, I could look at the number of deals. That might be 30 deals. So again, and you could look at both. You could look at the number of deals and or the dollar amount. The point I'm trying to convey in this dashboard is I'm trying to communicate to this rep that you've got $1 million worth of potential revenue that we could call it at risk or neglected or something that needs your attention. Now, that's fine. But unless I, as a manager, am telling the rep on some consistent rhythm that this is unacceptable or that this is a problem, or I'm asking questions about the million, or I'm drilling into the $1 million set of deals and I want to see those particular details. If the manager is probing and asking me questions, I'm going to drill into this real quick. And if the manager's going in and saying, hey, Steve, ask me about Adam Fabricant or ask me about Stone Corp, why is that deal still neglected? Let's go into that. I'm going to tend to lose either focus, or I'm not going to really know what the manager wants from me in that particular example. So the point is to define, like we've said, what those metrics are, and then to reinforce those metrics through some kind of meeting rhythm. Now, I'm going to show the manager side of this, but I wanted to kind of lay the foundation to give you a sense of, what's the rep seeing in this example. Now, if I click over to the manager dashboard, what I'm seeing is the manager now can see what's happening with individual users. So we've got this demo user in here. I can see, demo user is, $75,000 worth of revenue. And in this case, because it's dark blue, I know that all of the deals that demo users working on are neglected or need attention. So again, at the manager level, if I'm drilling in and having a conversation with demo user, I'm saying, hey, demo user, you've got nothing that's in updated. Everything you've got's in neglected. And again, the manager's setting an appropriate expectation about that behavior. Same thing, the manager can see what's going on with Steve. So where Steve was looking at $200,000 of updated and $1 million of neglected, the manager can see that same thing, but the manager is not just concerned about Steve. The manager is concerned about Steve and this other user named Demo. So the point is, now we're giving a tool to the manager to reinforce the right behavior. So we want to make it really, really easy for the rep to be informed on what they're expected to do, and then give the rep an easy way for them to then see if they're performing or not. And at the same time, we want to give the manager an easy mechanism to reinforce that. Now, you've heard in other videos that I talk a lot about meeting rhythm as it relates to creating momentum for the project. In this example, I'm going to reinforce the value of meeting rhythm in creating momentum for the behavior. So the idea of creating a dashboard that allows a manager to reinforce the right behavior is based on this idea of then equipping your salespeople to essentially know what's expected of them. And on a daily basis, they understand, hey, I gotta make sure that I'm doing everything I can to keep things out of the neglected or needs attention column and keep them in the updated. Now, at the same time, you might be thinking, well, what's to keep them from just moving things over and it being artificial and not being a legitimate, sales thing, or what keeps them from lying? Well, I don't know that this is going to solve the lying problem, but in addition to this, the manager can drill down, and we teach managers, in addition to just having a conversation, you actually do some probing, because our goal as a manager is to create an environment where our salespeople know what's expected, and we're not having to manage the day-to-day activity of your salespeople. We're teaching them how to do that themselves, and we're giving them a tool with this dashboard so they can do that. So my job as the manager is basically to say, green good, red bad, what are we expecting? And then to follow up on that and say, hey, I noticed you've got Harris Machine Corp in here, hasn't had any contact in 200 days. What's going on there? Well, the deal's not really there anymore. Okay, well then if the deal's dead, then it needs to get out of the pipeline, kind of thing. So the point in this example is that the manager then has the information, and the manager also has the objective of driving a particular behavior. So basic idea is that as you begin to define the results you want and the behavior that you want to achieve those results and the way to measure that behavior, we then take that information and then we start to work on the dashboard design so that we're laying the foundation for the relationship between your management or your leadership and your reps, and creating tools that enable them to self-monitor their behavior and give them clarity on what behavior is expected or what results we're trying to accomplish, and then give them information that tells them whether or not they're accomplishing that. So with that, I just kind of wanted to share a couple of those ideas as you're working through those project documents and capturing some of that. I wanted to give you some context for where are we headed with the data model and the layouts. Where does that all end up? Well, it all ends up in a dashboard like this that I just described, and it gives us a tool that enables us to create that relationship between leadership and those folks that are out there executing, so that we can see, hey, are we delivering on what we said we're going to deliver on? So for some of you, you may have started the risk-free prototype already. If so, awesome. If you haven't started the risk-free prototype, but you feel that you're ready, there's a link to my calendar in the description. You can grab a time and we can start talking about just some sort of the next step details, which would be, getting a meeting scheduled and set up, finding a date and time that works for you and your team, and just starting to build that momentum that we talked about. If you're not quite ready to do the risk-free prototype and you want to keep working on this internally, I hope at this point you've already established some kind of internal meeting rhythm. And as I mentioned a few videos back, we've given you the project document so you can begin to capture some of that. So in the meantime, if you're not ready for risk-free prototype, just keep working, keep maintaining that momentum, keep building that. And if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, feel free to let us know, and we'll help you in any way we can. And thank you.